What is going on? I thought I'd share a bit of my recent background, give you an insight to my story. Maybe some single guys out there, or recently single, or separated with kids. Maybe you can relate. Maybe not. But I've recently split up with my ex-partner for about 8 years. We've got 3 boys together. We were living in Newcastle. We were originally from Melbourne, moved interstate. It was a COVID thing. It was during COVID when a lot of people left Melbourne. We moved interstate to Newcastle. It's about 11 hours away from where we were living. Anyway, so it never felt like home for me. I was never content. It was never Melbourne. I was never happy there. I was not happy with our relationship. Neither was my ex. It wasn't a happy environment for us or for the kids, and we decided to separate, and I decided to move back to Melbourne. Does mean we're in the middle of a cost of living crisis, and interest rates are going up, and inflation, and this is an added cost because without me being there now, there's a need for me to have a place to live separately. Then there's the share of custody, there's the travel to and from Melbourne, Newcastle, so it brings about a whole lot of problems there. Fortunate enough to have children with someone who believes that I should have equal custody, or as close as possible to that, which is great. There's no arguments there. Our only arguments are going to be financial, when there's already a financial burden anyway. And that's the thing. The harder things are financially for people, the more they're gonna battle it out for the financial stuff, you know. If things are tough, then people get tough about it. So anyway, my problem, what is my biggest problem right now? I need a way to maintain a lifestyle where I can live in Melbourne for 2 weeks, then go to Newcastle for 2 weeks, have the children under my care in a safe environment that's not at my previous house, because that's now going to be my ex's house. We've got 2 houses. We have one in Melbourne, we have one in Newcastle. I'm going to have this one, she's going to have that one. That's easy. We've got 2 houses. But we're very fortunate to have that, by the way, but we worked very bloody hard for it before anyone thinks, oh, you're not so poor. We worked fucking hard to get 2 houses, right, for years. But anyway, I need to have another house up there, or another, rent another unit or something, some sort of safe accommodation. It can't be a share house. It needs to be some sort of safe accommodation for the kids. So there's another cost. If I was lucky enough to get something for $350 a week, that's still gonna cost, with child payments or support payments, things like that, probably about 30 grand a year with your utilities and all that kind of stuff. So not only that, I need to still work, I need to still make money. I need to be able to support a lifestyle where I can live in Melbourne for 2 weeks, travel and stay up in Newcastle for 2 weeks, and just cycle and just do that, right? That was my problem. I identified that straight away. That was my problem. Yes, I know there's a lot of fucking wankers out there that could say, oh, but why don't you just stay in Newcastle? Why don't you live there? Because I didn't want to live there. That was the whole point. I didn't want to live there. I hated the joint, right? There's nothing there. It's like living in a country town. You're bored as shit. You're there and you're like, what the fuck do I do with my life? There's nothing here. There's a beach. There's nice beaches. Newcastle itself is kind of pretty. It's nice, but it's bloody dead. Like, Saturday night, no one's there. It's dead. So, anyway, that's the whole point. The point is that my friends, my family, my life was all in Melbourne. There's nothing in Newcastle. There's the children there. So it's not like I'm disappearing. If I lived in Newcastle still, here's another point. We've got 50% custody. For 2 weeks, if I lived in Newcastle, I wouldn't have the kids anyway. Why would I stay there for 2 weeks when I don't have the kids anyway, when I can just come home where I'm happy? It makes no difference. Whether I'm there 10 minutes around the corner or whether I'm in Melbourne, it doesn't matter. I'm not seeing the kids for 2 weeks. That's just for anyone who has that thought in their head on why did you move to Melbourne? Because I fucking wanted to. Alright? That's where I belong. Anyway, that's the problem. Maintain a lifestyle where I can do that. So what that means is there's a big restriction on the type of work I can do. A lot of people, they go to work, they drive to an office, or they drive to a construction site, or a DC, or whatever it may be, they go to work. I'm fortunate enough to have been able to attain a position that is pretty much 100% online. I'm not trying to sell you anything here. There's no affiliate links or anything. I'm an implementation consultant, so I work online. It's great, and it's not a bad salary either. So I'm very lucky, very fortunate to have a job that is online. Not many people can get that or do that, or maybe they get hybrids. Hybrids don't work with that whole, you just need to come into the office 3 days a week. Well, that's not going to fucking help me, is it? Like, I'm going up there for 2 weeks. Arsehole. I need something that's online. Yeah? So anyway, I was fortunate enough to get that job. Here's what I've done. I have asked the tenants to leave. We were renting the house that was down here. I've asked the tenants to leave. Yes, they were nice tenants, all that shit, but at the end of the day, I'm not a charity. I need a place to live. And I think I put this up in a previous video as well. I was only getting $5.10 a week for the rent. I was getting $5.10 a week. Plus, in Victoria, you got to do a safety compliance check. You got to get your meter box replaced for some reason. Just there's no point to it, but the Victorian government just wants you to do it because they want to make it hard on anyone who's got an investment. You got to get plumbing checked, the gas checked. You got higher interest rates on your loan as well because it's an investment loan. It's not an owner occupied. So yeah, I was getting $5.10 a week plus the agent fees. I was actually getting about $4.20 a week. It was Stuffle. It's a nice house, beautiful house. $4.20 a week. I asked the tenants to leave because I quickly figured out, well, if I just move into the master and I lease the room out for $250 a week, and that's cash, and we split bills on top, so it's not $250 including, it's $250 a week. And there's 3 rooms, that's $750. I don't have the higher interest rate. I don't have to replace meter boxes. I don't have to get plumbing and inspection checks and electric checks and compliance checks and all that other shit. I don't have to do any of that. I don't have agent fees. I just say, here's 3 rooms. I'll lease them out. I interview the people, make sure that they're good fits. They got jobs, all that kind of stuff. It's a win-win. They get cheap accommodation in a really nice house in a really nice area with a really good-looking guy, and I get the master. I get accommodation. I get the master with the ensuite. $750 a week as opposed to $5.10 minus all that, as opposed to like $4.20. It was really like $750 to $4.20, right? On top of that, I've got the double garage. It's like 6x6. I'm leasing that out for $250 a month. It's like $50 a week, right? $250 a month, $50 with that. So I am now, that house is now bringing in $800 a week, which is covering my mortgage. Even right now when interest rates are as high as what they are and inflation is up and all that shit, even when the interest rates are so high and mortgage payments have gone right up, everyone's freaking out. Even if I wasn't living in that master bed, the master bedroom with the ensuite, and I just left it vacant and I was staying in Newcastle, I'm making $800 a week. Why would you lease a house out now? Why would you lease a house out? Right? And to put that in context, when I listed the rooms, I listed them over the period of 2 weeks. I had 50 responses, more than 50 responses, like 53, 54. I can't quite remember, but I remember when it hit 50 and it kept going. It was like heaps of them. Now, a lot of them kind of, let's be honest, like over half of them, they were drop kicks. They were never going to get a room there. I looked at them and went, yeah, no, forget it. Then the other half, I sort of interviewed them. I did a video call with them. And then some of them I sort of filtered out and went, no. Then there was probably about 15. Now, this is only 2 weeks. It's still pretty good for 2 weeks. 15 that were qualified, 15 qualified people that I was looking at going, I'd happily give you a room, yeah, no problem. And then it just became a point of, well, who wants to take action first? And it was like who's the best fit kind of thing, who's got the full-time job, who really wants this, who's going to be long-term, all that kind of stuff. And I really dove into those conversations with those people so I can get some long-termers in there. And that's how it happened. It's just, I got some long-termers in there. They're ready to move in. The garage is the next thing. That'll be like $50 a week. Ready to go. I can park my car outside. I don't care. That neighbourhood's not going to be any problem. I don't care. Like, I've got 2 driveways there anyway. So $800 a week, right? Now that covers that house and that mortgage. I've still got all the other expenses to consider, right? I've still got my full-time job, obviously, that I can do from anywhere, whether it's here, Newcastle, doesn't matter. I can do that from anywhere, right? When I travel from Melbourne to Newcastle, I go through Albury, Wodonga, through Sydney, that the route, yeah? I listed a career service. I started putting ads up. Career service. From Melbourne, Albury, Sydney, Newcastle, and back. Once every 2 weeks. Sorry, yeah, once every 2 weeks. And then I did the opposite. Newcastle and back, Newcastle, Sydney, Albury, Melbourne and back. And I listed it up in Newcastle once every 2 weeks. I haven't yet done this, but I am going to do it. I'm going to list them in Sydney, I'm going to list them in Albury, Wodonga. Get on those Facebook groups, list them in there, all that kind of stuff. Those 4 locations, those 4 main locations, just because they're the main points, right? I put that ad up and people jumped on it. I wasn't expecting it, right? I wasn't expecting that to take off. That was solely because I'm like, it's going to cost me $150 in fuel each way. I just want to see if I can recoup some of that shit. That's all it was. I put the ad up and people jumped on it. Like, I'm telling you, they were like, not even so much the people in Melbourne. I've got one customer in Melbourne already. I put the ad up like 2 hours ago. I've got one customer in Melbourne. She wants me to go through Craigieburn, which is on the way anyway. I'll go through Craigieburn. She goes, go through Craigieburn and drop it off at Metford. It's this area in Maitland. I said, that is the next suburb to where I actually go to stay with my kids. So that is not a problem. That is 2 minutes away. How convenient. And I've got another person who's in Newcastle and says that she frequents down to Melbourne. Can she catch a lift? And I said, yeah, sure. If the schedule fits, then you can come whenever you want. $50, $50, jump in. I'll take a couple of people and some stuff in the back, because it's a wagon. I'll take a couple of people and some items and some parcels and stuff in the back. Do it as much as I want. That's the whole thing. I'm just trying to momentanize anything. So I'm trying to basically look at every aspect of this problem that I have. Every aspect of this problem that I have. How do I live here for 2 weeks? How do I travel there and back? And then how do I live there? How do I sustain that? So it looks like I can cover living here. I'm covering that expense. The travel, it looks like I'm now covering that expense. So now the next thing is I've got to cover the expense of living up there. I'm not like a billionaire or anything. I can't afford to buy a house up there just yet, or a motel or whatever, hotel or apartment. There's apartment things that are in the hotels. What are they called? Not units, but they're like apartments. Can't afford anything like that just yet, right? So I might be renting. So if I've got to rent something up there, that's okay. I worked out, as I said, $350 a week. If I'm lucky to get a rental for $350 a week, would be about $30,000 a year. When you put in, like, you got to have the utilities and your weekly bills, like, because you have your gas, electricity, water, all that kind of stuff. So your weekly bills, all that kind of stuff. I worked it out to be about $30,000 a year. So the next step is, how do I maximize that? How do I turn that around? That's got to be basically, I'm looking at, you can't have a share house with kids, by the way. So when you're looking after, courts don't like that. They've got to have their own room. They can't have anyone else living there unless it's family. It's like you're moving with your mum or something, and the kids come and stay over. It's fine, but if you put an ad out and you have some weird looking 60-year-old creepy guy living there, they're not going to like that. So they don't like anyone living there. But anyway, so basically you've got to provide a safe space. That's what the rule says. That's what the law says. You've just got to provide a safe space, which I can do. So initially it's okay to have like motels and apartments and stuff. That's fine. It's just not viable long term, because they need to have a fixed address long term. It's okay it's okay at the start. It's okay when you're going up there. You get a motel that you can stay in for 2 weeks and stuff. It's fine for short term. It's just not sustainable for long term. They won't allow it long term. They'll hit a point 2 years in or so, and they'll go, you can't do that. The kids are getting older and stuff. They need their own space. So yeah, it's a good solution for now, and it's probably a solution I'll do for now, because I've worked that out, and that's actually quite a lot cheaper. That's only like maybe 25 grand a year, but it's a solution. It's not bad. It's an intermediate solution until I get to the end solution. The end solution is I'd probably be looking at renting something up there, potentially with a garage. Use the garage as storage. I can't lease rooms out, but no one says anything about leasing rooms out for storage. You can't lease them out to people. You can have share housing, but there's no rule around having storage. There's no reason why you can't use a room for storage, or other things, or whatever it may be, whatever you can monetize. I keep saying fucking monetize. What the fuck is that? Monetize. It's been speaking a lot today. I'm going to dry throat, that's why I'm not talking properly. So, point is I've identified that I had a big problem, and I broke that problem down into its points. Living in Melbourne, the travel, living in Newcastle, the time frame, making your work adjust around that lifestyle, and also supporting it financially. Because it's not like you can just have any job and do that, yeah? It kind of needs to be online, and it needs to be flexible hours. That's the biggest thing, right? So then the other thing I did was I did a lot of looking on the internet, on the Google, a lot of looking, a lot of researching, and eventually I came across it's like a site. It's not a scam or anything. It's not scammy. I've checked it out. It's like a normal sort of like your agency work that you do. You go through your agents to get your odd jobs here and there. But this one is more about business admin and things like that you do online. That's the whole thing, and it's all about doing it after hours and stuff as well. So you choose when you work, and they give you business administration tasks to do. It's not the highest paying thing. Don't get me wrong. It's not going to make you a millionaire, but it could get you another $400-500 a week, which is great. That's what I need, because if I look at, well, what are my additional costs going to be? If I'm down in Melbourne during the week, I've got my full-time job during the day, which again is flexible. But then if I can fit in another 4 hours Monday to Thursday or something like that, that's gonna have a huge impact. I've also, with this career ad that I've put out, signed on to a couple of career companies that I found. I started looking at, like your Deliveroo and your Menulog and Uber, Amazon, Flex, I think it's called. I started looking at all that kind of stuff. A lot of people do that. It's very entry level. A lot of people, they're saturated. Uber aren't even taking people right now. It's saturated. Amazon Flex, not even taking people right now. It's saturated, right? So then I went, well, what's beyond that, yeah? And then I found a couple of other companies like Yellow and Deliver to You, I think it's called, or Flex to You, or something like that. Anyway, I found other companies, and what they do is same thing, but it's all about packages and parcels, but like your fragile parcels and things like that. So a lot of their clients, they're I'm trying to think of it. It's like chemist, like all your chemist stuff, your pharmaceuticals. It's all that kind of stuff. So you've got to have it packaged in in cooler bags and stuff like that, but that's fine. And then you got to do all this training, and you got to do like a video interview like this, but that's fine, right? So that's another thing that I'm doing, yeah. So I've got my normal job, I've got that career thing that I'm doing when I travel to and from, Melbourne and Newcastle through Albury and Sydney and stuff. Leasing the rooms out, leasing the garage out because I don't need it, so leasing the garage out. And then also, outside of my normal working hours, I've got this business admin that I can tap into, as well as this deliver service, not delivering people's food and driving people around and stuff, but just to deliver, like it's for packages and stuff, it's for your after hours delivery, so people can order something. It's B2B, it's very B2B, which is cool. That it's just better, and it pays more. It's generally, I had a look at it, and it was generally about, if you do, like they do it in blocks, so you basically allocate yourself to blocks. You see what blocks are available. They get offered to people first, and then if you don't pick them up within 20 minutes, they get offered to the next person, kind of thing. Something like that. Maybe it's less, 10 minutes or something. But the point is it's like $25 for, I think, 35 minutes of work, 40 minutes of work, something like that. So it's not bad. It's something that you could do for a few hours a night, then do business admin stuff for a couple of hours, or vice versa. Do an extra 5 hours a night, Monday through Thursday, or even Monday through Friday, or maybe the weekends when I'm still here, something like that. And then when I go up to Newcastle, can factor that out. I'm not going to do deliver stuff while I've got the kids. I'm going to spend time with the kids. So I'm just going up there. I just do what I need to, which is my full-time job while they're at school and stuff. And then I just spend the rest of the time with the kids. When they're asleep, maybe I'll do a couple of hours of business admin stuff. So I'm just doing anything I can. I'm finding any way, any factor of this problem that I can turn into a money-making mechanism. I'm just trying to find. I'm going to think more about what I can do when I am in Newcastle that doesn't impact my time with the kids. That's the whole point. I was unhappy when I was living there. So was my ex. We were unhappy. I want to be happy when I'm there. When I'm there, it's just, I want to spend the time with them and be happy, and that is my focus. Not working, not money, not worrying about anything. Just, I'll do my normal job day to day because I need to do that. But then aside from that, it's just job, kids. That's it. Yeah. When I'm in Melbourne, that's when I can go all out. Don't get me wrong, I still want to enjoy living in Melbourne. I still want to enjoy seeing friends and doing the things that I will do. But people do that on the weekends anyway. I'm happy with just spending the week just smashing it. I could work like 14, 16 hours. Monday, Thursday, Monday, Friday. Maybe even do some stuff during the day on Saturday or on Sunday or on both, depending how I feel. That's the whole point of it. I can do it depending how I feel and what I need. But then I can see my mates on Saturday night and not worry about shit. Not worry about having, I don't know if I should buy that next beer. I don't know if I can afford it. Don't worry about that. I want to be able to just solve this problem that I have. And the final thing that I need to think about here is, by having these different revenues, the business admin, the house finance itself, the driving to and from Newcastle finance itself, the having these different revenues on top of that, the delivery service Monday to Thursday with the pharmaceutical shit, and the business admin one as well. The reason why I need both, and not just to focus on one, the reason why I need a couple, is because I'm factoring in the fact that I might get made redundant from my job one day. Because it happens, especially since we're going through a recession pretty soon, if we're not already in one now. If I lose my job, it's all fucked, right? It all goes to shit. But if I've got everything looking after itself, like the house in Melbourne, house up there, the travel, if that's looking after itself, I'll lose my job. Yeah, it'll suck, but I've got other things to sort of get me by until I get another job. So I'm not totally screwed. I can go, all right, I just lost my job, I need to get another one. But whenever I am not applying for a job or going to see a business and going to talk to someone and interview and sell myself on the job, whenever I'm not doing that, I can be doing the business admin or the career work or whatever I need to do to bring money in. It won't be as much, but it's minimalizing that impact of losing the job until I just get another job. Anyway, that's my story. I just thought that maybe people can relate. Maybe people have a similar problem. I think most guys, look, separations very common at the moment. Very common, especially since COVID and through COVID and all that kind of stuff. A lot of people experience it. A lot of people, kids experience, right? So it's hard with kids, and it's like you separate, and most people though, they don't live that far away from one another. It's like, I know people, it's like, yeah, they separate, they have kids, but they live like 15 minutes away from each other. It's not the same problem. But really, it's not that different as well. The only difference is the travel. The only difference is that they don't drive 11 hours one way or 10 and a half hours one way every 2 weeks and then drive 10 and a half hours back. That's the only difference. That's the only difference, right? They could be 15 minutes away, but without that, take that travel part out of it, there's no different. They don't see the kids anymore. They only see him once every... Look, I know guys that are seeing him less than I'm going to see mine. They see him once every couple of weeks for a day. Sometimes longer. So, and they live 10 minutes away. So I mean, is it really that different? It's only the travel. If I can cover the travel, is it really that different? It's just my time. It's my time on a Friday night or a Thursday night where I decide to get in the car, drive up. I can drive straight if I want to, or I can do 5 hours or 6 hours, have a bit of a sleep and do the rest. Get there early in the morning. Either way, it doesn't bother me. The drive doesn't actually bother me. I can drive for 5 hours, have a break, and then do the rest, and I'm fine. If you condition yourself to, it's like anything, if you condition yourself to certain situations, they just become the norm. People sit there and they say to me, oh, you're going to drive 10 hours, that's ridiculous, you can't do that every 2 weeks, you're fucking nuts. And it's like, if you get used to it, if you condition yourself, if it becomes the norm, it's like people that get up very early in the morning. They get up at 5 a.m. to go to the gym, and everyone tells them they're nuts. They're not nuts. That's just the norm for them. They condition themselves to do the norm. That's all it is. Anyway, if I come up for a solution with the staying in Newcastle, how I'm going to finance that, how I'm going to monetize the whole thing, the goal is that nothing comes out of my salary. That's the goal. Not nothing, like you get your living expenses and stuff that come out, your general living expenses, but the goal is that I want to see if I can have the house here fund itself, have the travel fund itself, and somehow, I don't know how, but somehow have a place up in Newcastle that I'm renting, somehow at least partially fund itself, somehow, without leasing rooms out to people, because you can't do that. If I can figure that out, I'll put that up in another video. I'm interested to know if anyone can relate to my situation. Feel free to comment, feel free to share below, feel free to ask any questions, and I will talk to you next time.